So listen, my entire life, I've heard of crooked politicians being compared to the mob. Maybe you've heard that as well. All right. So tonight is going to be interesting to hear from former mobster Sammy the Bull Gravano, and he has a message for scumbag politicians. Let's check it out.
Republicans have been accusing President Biden of running a crime family with kickbacks for the big guy. Democrats have been accusing Trump of the same thing for years. To be sure, there's always been an overlap between politics and the mafia. And with all the talk of RICO charges lately, it's back in the spotlight. But is being a politician really like being in the mob? Joining me now, former mobster and underboss of the Gambino crime family, Sammy the Bull Gravano. Sammy, thanks for joining us.
How you doing?
I got to start with a true story. So I did a book report in school on your book, Underboss.
That's great.
Well,
That's
I just want to run something by you because I was a really slow student. It was the only subject I got an A in, and I legitimately think it's because my professor thought I was related to the mobster James Fala, because my real name is James Fala. Now, so far as I know, I'm not related, but are there any restaurants where I could probably eat free with that name?
What?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
Oh, no.
I wasn't able to eat free, so I doubt it.
Well, there went that plan. Okay, over to your area of expertise. With all the political things going on right now, there's accusations against Biden. Like I said in the intro, they've been coming to Trump for years. When you look at politics from your vantage point, is politics the mafia, but in cheaper suits than you guys wore?
I would take that as an insult. The mafia is nothing like politics. We're not on their level. You know, we're a different organization. Politics don't give a damn about anybody. They're robbing the public. They're hurting people. Open borders. The cities are falling apart. There's no comparison to what these scumbags are doing to what we did.
You know what? I would commend that, because obviously in the mafia, women and children were off limits, whereas what's going on in politics doesn't really have a regard for anybody, does it?
No, and they weren't off limits. They were people that we protected. They were people in our neighborhood. We loved people in our neighborhood. We never hurt people in our neighborhood. They were protected. You never heard of this kind of stuff back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s. We, if you want to compare us with politicians and people like that, we're like Boy Scouts compared to them.
No, in theory.
To hear, again, this is Sammy the Bull Gravano. To hear him say that we're like Boy Scouts compared to politicians, you hearing it from his mouth, bro. Anybody who's ever watched any mob movie, any mob show, The Sopranos was my favorite. I try to watch it at least once a year. At some point in time throughout the show, I feel like I'm a part of the mob. But just to hear that come from his mouth says a lot. Now, earlier they made the reference to when you start dealing in RICO charges, that's when the whole mob comparison starts to come in. You know what I mean? Because that's what a lot of times they were using against mob bosses and different ones like that. So to hear them say that, bro, that's bad. That just shows you the times we're in.
You really are. And I think a lot of people would argue the streets were a lot safer in mafia neighborhoods than they feel today, right?
Well, I know a lot of police and FBI people. I cooperated. And, I'm in touch with some of them. I became friends with them. They say it to me themselves.
Fair.
There's no doubt the streets were a lot safer. And so I think it's
fair.
It's not something that I'm making up. So.
Yeah, no, certainly not. What do you think of the idea of the Bidens being a crime family? Does that behavior in any way remind you of things you've seen in the past?
You know, I've been listening to what's going on with him, and I understand the RICO law. The Biden family is an exact replica of the RICO law.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they did. But, you know, well, like, again, you talk about gangsters and different kind of crimes. You know, they sold out the entire country.
Yep.
When they're taking money from these countries and passing laws, They're hurting our whole country. I'll give you another example. We're giving billions upon billions, 113, 120 billion, I heard, to Ukraine. Hawaii, there was a disaster.
Yep.
I mean, it's terrible.
I knew that's exactly where he was headed with that, boy. Biden has been getting cooked about that, and everyone, and deservingly so in this situation here, man, because that is truly, truly sad.
Ukraine. Hawaii, there was a disaster.
Yep.
I mean, it's terrible. You look at it, and he gives them $700 per family.
It's nuts.
So,
it's
so. I mean, that's what we say. It's nuts, but that's organized crime to a degree that is really disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't mind if somebody stole a little bit here, didn't pay taxes here or there.
Yeah.
You know, we can make a big stink about that.
For
but
sure.
these are the things that they're doing now.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
are they a crime family? I think he's definitely a crime family, and it's a perfect RICO racketeering act.
Yep. Well, then, absolutely. And no one would know better than you. Last question. What did you consider more dangerous, turning on the mob or actually being on the set of the reality show Mob Wives?
Well, I was in prison when Mob Wives came out.
Oh, okay.
So
you were safe.
And I was safe. So when it came out, my daughter was on it. I says, "Oh, here we go. I'm going to hear things in prison." So, but it was good. They did a great job.
They got it done.
They had a lot of fun.
Yep. Last one, because I do appreciate that show. It was a great watch. What do you think of Putin assassinating, as the reports say, his rival Prigozhin?
That's crazy. I heard about that.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, you know, he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a gangster. He's smart. He had this guy around him. The guy's a multi-billionaire. They were close. He turned on him. And I think, you know, he has the capabilities of taking him out.
Yeah.
I think he has the temperament to taking him out. But I don't know. It's not clear.
Yeah, okay.
I saw a statement. He says he didn't do it. So I really don't know.
Yep, and I've seen
And
the
I really
reports go
don't
back
care.
and forth. No, I agree. One other conspiracy.
And that's the thing, man. Like, and I don't want to speak on it because I don't know the full story yet. I wanted to get into it with y'all, maybe watch a video. So put some links to some videos that talks about that. I know it's all over the news, so it'll be easy to find one. But just that whole situation there is just insane to even think of, man. And back to the whole mob comparison and politician comparisons, bro. You got to think about it, man. These guys are holding office positions. They're shaking hands. They're kissing babies. They're lying to you right in front of your face. They're doing some of the most underhanded things behind the scenes and justifying it and doing different things and passing laws and making things to benefit and work in their favor. It's insane, bro. And we're living it. We're living it. But they get in front of the camera and they're telling us how they're all about us. Since when? Since when? Please tell me that.
Question from me. What have you made of reports over the years that the mafia was involved in helping the CIA kill JFK? Could that have happened, and could they have kept it a secret?
Well, I know a lot about that situation. I'm going to do a video on it. I'm talking with people in Hollywood about it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say too much, but I think there was a massive conspiracy to kill JFK.
Wow.
And I think the CIA was involved, the mafia was involved. I think the vice president then was involved. So I think there's a lot of people involved in that.
All right,
And
cool.
I think it's
It's
coming
one
out
thing-
slowly.
All right, well,
It's one thing to have a conspiracy theory, right? And I hold those conspiracy theories very high. But when you have a former mobster come out and say, "Hey, bro, I'm about to do a whole piece on this. Can't say too much because I'm about to do all of this, but I will say this. CIA, mafia was involved, blah, blah, blah." Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So think about that. Think about the whole UFO situation and what the Pentagon is doing and how things have been hidden, right? Think about what Putin is doing. Think about what Trump is going through. Think about what Biden has done. Think about every single thing going on, man. And y'all truly still want to believe these politicians that smile in your face and tell you, oh, we're all about you and the people. Since when?
Well, I'm going to cut it off here for my own safety, but I really appreciate this, Sam. This was awesome. Thank you so much for your time, brother.
Okay, my pleasure.
My man.
Bye-bye.
With the visual news that most Americans, most news viewers, most people with an internet connection have now seen. You're looking at it. Maybe you've absorbed it. Maybe you've discussed it. Unlike so many facts and stories and developments in our modern life, this is something we are all seeing together. It's an image we've seen, and Americans have seen it, I would argue, based on the information we have, even if many typically use different sources for media and information and have different ideas about what the big story of the day is or what they've heard or what's important. This unprecedented mugshot of the indicted former president, legally presumed innocent, has pierced the filter bubbles and often polarized experiences of our era. Just about everyone, I think, has seen what is now an indelible, permanent part of the history and the reality of this.
That's what I was saying to my kids the other day. However you feel about it, and I always encourage them to make their own opinion. Form your own opinion about things. Don't take mine, don't take your mom's. Form your own opinion. However you feel about this will go down in history. This will be in history books later on in life if they're still using history books, whatever they're using, computers, laptops, whatever type of digital software they're using. This will go down in history, man. And this will have to be talked about. This will have to be debated. All of that type of stuff.
Defendant / former President Donald Trump. You are looking at both news, and we can say, we think even with intellectual humility tonight, you are looking at history in the making. The mugshot of this RICO defendant who repeatedly tried to overturn and steal the election. That fact is not in doubt. Whether that fact became a crime, did it go beyond talking about it, musing about it, thinking about it? Did it go into criminal territory of stealing the election? That is what will ultimately be adjudicated. This is a big deal. To the Fulton County court system, I can tell you this defendant is now not just so much an ex-president, although he was treated with certain legal measures that reflect that, like having his guards with him, as he legally may. But he is, according to Georgia.
Got to read off these charges. Violation of the Georgia RICO racketeering, and it's covered up. I can't read the rest. Solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer, conspiracy to commit impersonating at a public officer, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, conspiracy to commit false statements and writings, conspiracy to commit filing false documents, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, conspiracy to commit false statements and writings, filing false documents, solicitation and violation of oath by a public officer, false statements and writings, solicitation of violation of an oath by a public officer, and false statements and writings. Sheesh. And it tells the bonds and everything like that. Wow.
This identification number, P01135809, that is in the court documents, which are public record for him and any other defendant, along with his $200,000 bond on which he was released. This is significant, and one of those nights where we want to make sure to reflect how it is playing out, not only in our country, but around the world, a historic spectacle, an instant American artifact, another article says. The Post reports that the image gives everyone this immediate moment for the public debate. You can view the mugshot, you can view this defendant and his facial expression, which was a clearly practiced choice, as potentially a hero or a showman or a, quote, scoundrel. That debate may rage on. There is no major debate that this mugshot image, like the others of the co-defendants we started to get this week, this matters. It reflects something real, and it is here to stay. The Washington Post says it's a mugshot seen around the world. The Times reports a mugshot for history, an instantly iconic photo that also is, as the Wall Street Journal reports, an immediate hit product. The Journal, of course, is the business press, and we would be remiss not to mention that they report Trump's mugshot, a presidential first, is also, as a business story, a merch bonanza.
Wait, man. So you mean to tell me people have been, I haven't been outside, so y'all can say I've been under a rock. I haven't seen it. Confession, I haven't seen it, but are they really out here putting this mugshot on t-shirts and stuff and selling it? Are you kidding me right now? This is a joke. Are we going to sit here and make a mockery and let outsiders in other countries and stuff look at us making a mockery of ourselves? This is crazy. I can't believe please tell me we're not out here doing that.
The often staid Associated Press captures all of this with a succinct headline: one image, one face, one American moment, the Trump mugshot. And the reporting here I wanted to share with you from the AP, which again is assiduously nonpartisan, but understands the significance of this, not whether you like or dislike the face on your screen, not whether you think he's guilty or not, which is ultimately up to a jury,
right?
But what this means, quote, a mugshot is a visceral representation of the criminal justice system, a symbol of lost freedom. It permanently memorializes one of the worst days of a person's life. A moment not meant for a scrapbook.
Thank you. A moment not meant for a scrapbook. Moment not meant for your t-shirt, coffee mug, or travel size whatever that you may feel like putting it on. This is not that, fam. This is serious. However you feel about or which side of the coin you land on, this is serious. So yeah, man, if you got that type of shirt on, bro, what are you seriously doing that? Seriously, that's not funny.
End quote. I got to tell you something as we go through this together and we try to report on the facts here, and our team goes through all of this with you. When you look at something like this, you read what the AP says, it almost sounds obvious. Duh, mugshot bad. And yet, I refer to the polarized environment. You have people who, because of their political views or because of the habit of trolling and lying about everything, are actually, with a straight face, trying to say that this somehow will be either nothing or a positive for the defendant. That's not true. Legally, he's still presumed innocent, and getting booked in a mugshot, as we reported earlier this week when we went through other examples, including Democrat John Edwards, El Chapo, Gotti, getting booked alone doesn't mean you're guilty. I say that for context because Trump is trying to claim the image as his own. You can say, oh, a grifter is going to sell anything, but the choice to put this dark day, as the AP called it, on your own fundraising merchandise is extreme by any measure. And so they're doing that. I'm not necessarily going to show you all that tonight, but I'm mentioning it. But then Trump's own comments after the booking also reveal a man who seemed, in some sense, affected or rattled by the experience.
Terrible experience. I came in, I was treated very nicely, but it is what it is. I took a mugshot, which I never heard the words mugshot. Didn't teach me that at the Wharton School of Finance. I went through an experience today that I never thought I'd have to go through.
Let's take him at his word there. We do fact checks, we do context, but as Donald Trump has so often proven to be, the Washington Post said he's lied more than any other public government figure, and they track that. And yet right there, you heard a kind of a blurted truth. The Watergate prosecutor Nick Ackerman standing by, I'm definitely going to ask him about that and how it relates to other defendants, other people booked, because it was almost like this person who's been caught lying so much had to actually cough up his feeling about how it went, that it's not fun. You can sell the merch, you can have some other staffer write an email where you claim to be just, bring on the indictments, but then you heard it in his own voice. We can also tell you Trump said it's not a, quote, comfortable feeling to get that shot. That was in a new Fox News interview.
Because that mugshot represents that this thing is real. What you're going through, what you're experiencing, this thing is real. That's that surreal. That's that moment in time where it says, okay, this is really happening. How am I, if I'm in his shoes, how am I going to continue to defend myself? What's going to be the outcome? You start thinking ahead, trying to figure out how could this all play out? What are the potential outcomes? You know what I'm saying? Taking that mugshot puts things back into perspective. You know, when you on a campaign and different things are going on, it's keeping your mind off of it. You're doing different things to keeping your mind off of it. That moment in time right there, that snapshot, that lets you know that this thing is still going on, regardless of what I got going on out in the world. This is still happening. And it brings you back, it reels you back in. So what you were seeing right there, I believe, was a moment of, I don't care how you try to mask it up and poke out your chest and do different things, man. That's a moment of vulnerability.
Defendant Trump went down to Georgia yesterday because he had to. In fact, Rachel Maddow and our team was discussing this just last night during the special coverage, that for all the bluster and the attacks on the prosecutors, what that physically represents, what the mugshot shows, is their power on behalf of the government and the people, which this defendant surrendered to. That's happened at the state level yesterday and the federal level before that. That's a good thing because this is a nation of laws. It's not a good thing if you just want schadenfreude or to be trolling or negative about someone that you have a disagreement with. Indeed, it's a free country. You can feel whatever you want. But as a system of justice, we do not want the criminal justice system to be some sort of effort at score settling or humiliation, quite the opposite. But right now, what he has subjected himself to shows who's in charge. It's not the defendants. One by one, the rest of his co-defendants filed into court for that processing. 19 have turned themselves in. One remains in jail trying to work out a bond deal. The DA never needed to issue any of the warrants as threatened because nobody wanted to go down that game of losing chicken with the prosecutor. Now, some of these individuals are basically fighting, some saying they should be tried a different courtroom in federal court, which is fine. They can argue that, and we'll get that worked out in the courts. Some maintain their innocence. Some are demanding a speedy trial. Each one of these individuals is presumed innocent and entitled and afforded those rights to pursue what they think is their best option, whether that is full defense or a plea or something else. Now, some are blaming Donald Trump with their public words, and we have more on that coming up this hour. But you are looking at, if you take it together, the indicted RICO criminal conspiracy. These are the top people, starting with the booked defendant in the upper left, Donald Trump, and the booked lawyer, former RICO prosecutor Giuliani, and the booked coup memo author John Eastman, and the booked lawyer Kenneth Chesebro, and many other lawyers below him. These are people that are indicted on a criminal conspiracy of racketeering to overturn an election. So they are both indicted for that, which means the system has already established enough evidence to get to this point, to get these mugshots, to get these bookings, but they are also legally presumed innocent because to get to the next point of conviction is a much higher burden of proof. That burden solely on the government of Georgia, solely on the prosecutors, not on these individuals. This is a big deal no matter how you slice it. Go around the world, and we've seen already some of the international coverage pouring in, different languages, different places. A big deal for this defendant, a big deal for America, and that's why we begin tonight with what comes next. A big deal for this process, for this defendant, for this moment. And I say this with all sincerity, I really mean this. That involves our country, our society, you, because you watch the news, you presumably care, doing this in good faith together at a time when so many people operate in bad faith. Good faith means, yes, a search for justice and accountability. They tried to end our democracy, steal your vote, turn this into an authoritarian country. So you see why people care about that accountability. We've already had seditionists convicted. But it also means respecting this. That the person on your screen, whatever you think of him, his politics, or even the face he made, is legally presumed innocent. This is a process of evidence, not hate or emotion. And if he is ultimately acquitted in this or other cases, and we as a society must respect that outcome as well. With that in mind, on a big week, we have some very special guests. As promised, former Watergate prosecutor Nick Ackerman and Professor Jason Johnson. Welcome to both of you. Nick, your open table here, this is a moment you predicted. You said the evidence supported it. You also said it would happen. A lot of people said the opposite. This will never happen. You were right about that. And so I
was one of those people. I didn't think this would happen. I was like, yeah, okay. Every time my dad would call me and want to talk about it, I'd be like, yeah, okay. So I had to get serious and start paying attention to what's going on because I didn't think this would happen.
That's you here. I said it to you actually in private, but I want to say
you did.
I want to say it here. What do you feel today, and what should the public feel, as I emphasize that this isn't about politics or your opinion of Mr. Trump's otherwise political tenure?
No, I think what people have to focus on is just what you said, the evidence, the facts that are laid out in that indictment. In fact, I would invite everybody to look at that indictment and read it from cover to cover. Because when Donald Trump gets up and says that he's being railroaded, that this is for politics, the fact of the matter is there is real hard evidence that he lied repeatedly about the election being stolen from, and he tried to steal the election from Joe Biden.